Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach and welcome to the weekend preview. A bit of a later weekend preview this week. Shorty had his first run back into footy training after a little bit of time off the field. So, no, it was good to have a run and, obviously I've changed jobs, which has sort of allowed me to get back to Geelong and have some weekends free. So I've really been enjoying that and after enjoying a few weekends off, I thought I better get back out and have a bit of a kick. So that was really good, and shout out to one of the fellows who actually had been watching my channel. So that was good to sort of get a bit of banter going. But on to this weekend, there's a little bit of carnage, it must be said. I think we're all waiting for it. I know I was, week in, week out so far. There hadn't been any of those surprises, but combination of a couple of surprises with, a few guys just not getting over the line. We've got a few things to discuss. Now, I'll look at the teams, then I've got a couple of things I definitely want to talk about. A few players that I think we definitely need to make a call on. Now, just rolling through the teams. Robbie Gray's out injured. He's out for a few weeks, and trying to pick a premium forward's been difficult this season. I was discussing in the pod with Langers the other day. I was reading a Fox Sports article and, talking pre-season about the premiums and which ones to pick. And they previewed Devon Smith, Gray, Westhoff, Hawkins, Menegola, Franklin. The list goes on. And those guys are not only far from premiums, but not even near it. So Scrimshaw has been managed. That'll hurt a few, and a few people's backlines will be under the pump. James Cousins is out suspended. A few people may have him. Lockie Whitfield has not got up, and that was suggested throughout the week that he was more unlikely than likely. So that's a bit of a blow. That's two out from the back line. A few changes for St Kilda, but none too relevant for SuperCoach. Rowan Marshall is back in. That might help a few. Just scrolling through. Franklin's still not in. Doesn't directly impact, but indirectly, Heaney probably plays forward a bit more. That's frustrating. So we'd like Franklin to get back in for Heaney's sake to push up a bit higher. Plenty of changes at the Blues. Setterfield's back in, and Stocker and Shoemaker are into the side too. I don't know much about young Angus Shoemaker at all. Obviously, Stocker's been well talked about with a few videos on draft night and that. A fella who can play through the middle, so it'll be interesting to see. But I wouldn't be jumping at that sort of a player just yet, particularly with Cade Simpson, McGovern, Newman and Cruiser all out, and they'll be back soon. No Bailey Scott named on the extended bench, and, Simpkin is in front of him, and Higgins comes back. For Goldstein owners, you'd hope that Tom Campbell doesn't play. But we'll just wait and see. And look, Tom Williamson, let me just check. It's a little left field, and I wouldn't obviously bring him in just yet, but Tom Williamson in the back line, 189k. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if he juices up some nice scores throughout the season. It might not be his first few, so he may not be an option, but if he gets picked, and he will soon, then I reckon he's definitely a very likely type. He could be a player, I think. Something a little bit left field there. And then otherwise, we've got Constable was dropped for the Cats, but Clark is named as well. And Chris Scott has all but assured him of a spot in the side, and not too much to discuss with Adelaide and Freo. Or I do think Brett Bewley, he's had some good numbers in the waffle. I think he'll get named. So he's had sort of mid-20s and plenty of tackles for much of the last few weeks. So could be in for a debut. Now, what do we make of those teams? It's disappointing. Now, I think the players I wanted to earmark pre-show, pre-teams, Fife in, Libba out. Libba, I think it's time to go. Break even to 115. Very popular. He's done his job. Thank you, Tom. Good stuff. You've made your 90k while averaging 3 figures. Beautiful. Thank you very much. You've done your job. I'll now cash you in for a premium. And that premium should definitely be Fife. If you don't have him, get him. I'll be doing that for sure. Canelio got up, so that'll be good news to a lot of people. Now, if you already got Fife, look, we all know the players you should be picking. But I'll tell you one that I reckon is cheapish than what he truly deserves to be, and that's Josh Kelly. Now, I haven't just thought that because he signed a contract extension. I mentioned that a couple of weeks ago and last week in a press conference. He's just been ticking along with a 90, a 114, 90 odd, 116, stuff like that, but no real pre-season. He's going okay, but when he really gets going, he's 110 plus average sort of guy. Now, I think he's at 580 or something like that. I reckon he's not a bad option. Yeah, and look, the curveball is that these changes, you might not have the luxury of doing those types of trades. There's a chance that people might have Whitfield out and Scrimshaw out, and you may not have coverage on your bench. Hopefully you do, but zeros are starting to arise in our teams, which happens. So it's food for thought. What do I think on Constable? I think his break-even's about 37. He's priced at 303. It's really disappointing because he was rested the other week. And I thought he was really good against West Coast. I mean, you couldn't fault too many Cats. I mean, it was such a good win. 20-odd touches, kicked a goal. Just looked like a really good cog in the engine room. But obviously the coaching staff saw it different. So he could come back at any stage. Parfitt returning may have hindered his cause. I wouldn't, unless you desperately need the coin, I wouldn't trade him. It's a real tough one. I've probably got a decision to make, to be honest, because coming into this week, I wanted to get him Will Hayes. He's on the bubble, looked pretty good. Now, he was named. I didn't see him drop, did I? Let me just check. I always don't mind checking where they're named as well. It doesn't always mean much, but it's just nice to see if they're named on the ground sometimes. But he's probably on the bench. Yeah, he's on the bench, so that's not too concerning. And the Dogs don't have much on the injury list. It's not like there's too many mids that are going to take his spot if he can be good enough to hold his spot. So my thought process, Gibbons, he's still got that ton a couple of weeks back, so he's going to benefit from that one more price rise. I think his break-even's still in the negatives or really low. Atkins, break-even at 25, he's at 232k. And then you've got Constable, who has the best scoring capacity, a break-even of 37. So if he was playing, I was definitely keeping him. And it's that age-old debate of, he's the best pick of the lot, but he's been dropped. So does he potentially come back in next week? Does he come back in round 12? That's the debate. Do you hold on and hope he comes back? Because I think he's still got money to be made. But it does seem counterproductive to trade out a guy who's playing with a lower break even, who's made less coin, for a guy that'll, benefit me, what's that, an extra 70k, and he's out. So it's probably giving me something to think about. Yeah, it's not ideal. Sort of throws a spanner in the works. But look, I was really pleased that Lockhart was named and Clark as well, because I was concerned about a zero. Clark's got a break even of 43, so there's, it's nothing amazing in terms of his productivity with the coin. He really slowed up, so we're going to need him to get some 70 plus sort of stuff, or at least in the 70s to get that money rolling again. Petruccelli's another guy. I think we should sort of be lining him up, or Parker as well. But I think he's got more tricks, it would seem. He gave away a few frees and turned the ball over, but I think lining up someone like a Corbett or a Larkey, probably not ideal SuperCoach guys. Scored 55 and 75 respectively. I don't see them averaging big numbers. They're taller guys, more key position types, but we can't be too choosy and picky because there aren't a stack of options. We'll see. Oh, what did Haitley? Haitley didn't come back in, did he? No, he didn't. Interesting. Yeah, his name is the first emergency, so that's interesting. But because he scored 95 as a mid, priced reasonably. So Look, I think, as I always say, monitor your individual team and who needs to go and who you want to bring in and when, and try and write out a bit of a plan. You know, my plan in my head is bring Fife in this week, get rid of Libba, and then I think I'm sort of eyeing off Stewart, because I think Callum Wilkie will probably reach his peak or thereabouts very soon, probably next week. So Tom Stewart I really like as an option, and would not mind doing that next week, and should have the coin to do it without another downgrade. And then I think the week after that, McRae would be my man I want to get, McRae or Kelly. I sort of see I've got three spots. So you've got Libba, Walsh and Constable that I want to upgrade. Libba will be Fife very soon, and I see Walsh becoming McRae, or it doesn't really matter who he becomes, but you know, align him with McRae. And then M8 spot, not that he'll be an M8, but Josh Kelly or whoever bobs up as a bit cheaper. You know, all you need's an 80. You know, an 80 can see that 600k guy just come below the 600k, 570, 580 can snap him up. Mine a spanner in the works, because I really thought Constable could get to 350 plus, and it just makes that upgrade so much easier. Where Atkins may not even get to 300k. You've got to stretch a little, but on the other hand, the Constable downgrade will earn me more coin, so it sort of levels out. But I think all we can hope for is to always not have a zero and have enough guys making money. You know, that's all you can really hope for. Let's hope Setterfield gets picked, and that will add, you know, well, basically I'll just have Scott not playing, and which is a bit of a shock, because he promised to be one of the best cash cows of the lot, but it hasn't proved or panned out that way. So in terms of the vice captaincy, I was tempted to go Cripps into Dangerfield, you know, but Cripps's game probably doesn't quite finish, and I'll be going to the footy. So it's probably simpler to just go Neil. You know, Lions at the Gabba. George Hewitt might tag him. You know, I try to avoid that if you can, but geez, in electric form, it's hard to go past him, isn't it? You know, probably Grundy's another guy who puts his hand up, because I probably think I really like Cripps for the captaincy. I really love Cripps in a game where there's no real notable tagger. I don't believe. Let's have a little look. I mean, obviously, normally it's Jacobs, but is there anyone who'd play a sort of defensive? Dumont might play a little bit defensive, but I mean, realistically, you just want to avoid that out-and-out tagger guy who can claim a scalp. And I really love Cripps in a game against a lowly opposition where he's clearly the best midfielder in there. You know, he's the man, bigger than the other blokes. And it's a game that the Blues really want to win, and one that he can stand up and really just take the game. So I really like him as the captaincy option. So that's what I'll be doing. Hopefully Neil can fire with the VC and I can sleep easy. But look, all the best for the weekend, guys. I hope you have a good week. Trade efficiently, trade wisely, and think ahead. Always think 4 to 6 trades ahead, and you won't be caught out. So all the best for the weekend. I'll be back soon. Cheers.